Right folks, welcome back to Fishing with Kirk. So would you believe it, twice in a week I'm out on the bank. So a bit of a treat for me this one. I've got 96 hours ahead of me at a place called ADH Fisheries over near Maplethorpe on the east coast. So I've got 48 hours on the Specie Lake in a peg called the Cabin Peg, and then I've got the second 48 hours on a lake called Blackcomb Lake, which is a really interesting lake. It's pretty new, it's not been open that long. Some cracking fish in it, some big 30s. It's rod only on that particular water, so that'll be interesting. It'll be all kind of spod work and rod work, which I'm looking forward to. But for now, we're on the Specie Lake. So we're on the Cabin Peg, which, as luck would have it, is kind of southeasterly facing. And we've got a nice southeasterly wind kind of hacking up this end of the lake. I've seen a few fish as I've been setting up, sort of hopping out, jumping around, which is pretty encouraging. I've just had Nick round, the owner, really nice chap. He's just had a good chat with me, told me a few bits and pieces. The late record fish actually came out yesterday, a 41-pound common, so should have been here yesterday is probably the phrase, but hey ho, we'll give it a go anyway. There's still a lot of fish in, there's probably about 200 fish in about 6 acres, so plenty to go for. Like I say, I've seen a few. So this bay here at the Cabin Peg is pretty shallow. I've been out with the deeper. It's quite weedy as well. There's lilies knocking around and a little bit of kind of pondweed and streamer weed. But I have found two kind of interesting looking spots, so I'll try to point them out. Over to the right hand side of the peg, over here, there's a pretty obvious cutback in the lake there, and in that cutback I've managed to find about 4 feet of water, and it shelves up really quickly to 2, so it's quite clear at the bottom of there. I'm getting a nice clear read off the deeper, so we're definitely going to have a rod across there. And then there's a real obvious other feature for spin you around across here, right in front of that island. Again, really comes up really quite clear, and we've got a decent depth over there. We've got 4 foot again before it shelves up, so I'm trying to find reasonably deep water. I do like to fish in 6 foot whenever I can, but it's just not available on this peg, so we're going to go for 4 foot. In terms of rigs, let me just give you a little talk through the rigs. I've just been knocking them up. So I'm going for three identical rigs. So effectively what we've got are 3 short spinner rigs. It's quite a clayey bottom, so it's almost like a white looking bottom. So I've tied them up on some Hydrolink, which is a sort of sandy colour, so that'll match really nicely with the bottom. Kind of Ronnie rig presentation, and I've actually got a size 4 L&D Sharps curve shank on there. So I've gone for a big hook, because like I say, the chances are if we hook something it's going to be 20 pound plus, so I've upped the hook size from what I normally use. And then from a bait perspective, I went to see Steve last night at West Yorkshire Bait, so I've got a boatload of spicy fish with me. I've got 10 kilos for the 4 days. And all I've done to begin with is I've just made a bit of a mulch. So I've put quite a few of the baits through the old Corda shredder. And I've added a few pellets and a little bit of the spicy fish glug, a few whole baits. And we've got a bit of a slop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed fairly heavily on the left hand side of the peg. I say fairly heavily, I might put a kilo in to begin with, and then on that right hand spot I'm going to do the opposite. I'm just going to fish for a bite. I'm just going to put some of the slop in and fish spicy fish wafters over the top. So finished rig, we've got some free fall tubing from Rigmarole, so again a nice sandy colour that's going to blend into the bottom. Got a pretty big lead there. We're using a 5-ounce lead today, so this is one of the Trident lead bolt pairs, really heavy lead, so we get a nice clean hook hold and clean bite. And then here's the rig that we just talked about there. So we've got about 4.5 inches of the sandy Hydrolink, size 6 L&D, and we just finished that off with a 12mm West Yorkshire Bait spicy fish wafter. So we're going to get that out there. I'm going to have 2 rods on the spot to the left where I'm going to feed a bit of bait, and I'm just going to put the 1 rod on the right. So let's get the rods out, see if we can get one of these massive beauties. Right, 1-0 to the Carps. So it's about 7 o'clock. Left-hand rod has just gone. Literally one tone meltdown, boom, rod's bent round. By the time I've picked it up, the fish has got into the left-hand lilies. I felt it for about a second, and then it's come off. It must have transferred the hook straight into a reed. All safe rig, so the lead's dropped off and everything's come back. But yeah, it's a bit frustrating. Nice, would have been nice to get an early fish in the bag after 3 or 4 hours. But yeah, we'll keep going. There's been a few fish around, mainly up that left-hand channel, the left-hand island where you can't fish there because it's full of lilies. But there's definitely been 1 or 2 fish kind of boshing up there, and some pretty decent size ones as well. So kicking myself really. But replaced the 2 rods on the island, but I've moved them kind of a rod length further to the right, so it might take a bit longer to get a bite, but we'll have a bit more time to hopefully get to the rod and turn the fish before it decides to go into the weeds. I've also jacked up the clutch a little bit, so fishing fairly locked up whilst I'm sat on top of the rod. So yeah, just keep going. One in the net, early morning bite. Right folks, here we go, early wake up call, 4:30, nice 18-pound mirror. Really cool looking fish. Well, fish on. Never even heard a bleep, just saw the rod kind of bending round, which is really strange. I'll check that alarm's working. Don't feel particularly big, but on that right hand spot, found that clear spot just over to the right. It's got a load of weed wrapped around it. Well, let's see if it's still on. There we go, hard fighting little tench. Put up a right little account of himself under the rod tip. Love catching tench. Takes me back to the Nunroy Pond days, if anyone knows Nunroy Pond in Guiseley. Yeah, happy days. Let's get him out and have a look. Can't believe how hard it fought under the rod tip. It was amazing. Look at that little guy. Gorgeous colours. Red eyes. Lovely fish. Glad it wasn't at 3 in the morning. That would have been a little bit... I'd have been less excited to see him at 3 in the morning. But no, let's pop him back. Right gang, it's about 4:30 on Thursday. Just had a bite on the left hand rod. It's pretty much slap bang in front of the island. Just getting the weed straight away, it's impossible. A lot of weed. Yeah, time for a bit of a rethink really. It's yeah, it's a bit frustrating. I've got the right gear on, I think. Size 4 hooks, 25 pound breaking strain, hook length material. Yeah, a lot of weed and a lot of lilies. Tricky, but we're not going to give up. Right, so it's about 8 o'clock. I've repositioned the rods. I've dropped one in this deep spot to my left hand side. It's about 6 foot deep. All the rest of the peg is like 4 foot maximum. There's a few fish starting to show now, bosh around, and there's a few bubbles coming up over this left hand spot where I've put some bait in, so fingers crossed we might get a ripper. Be a right bite, because it's literally 15 feet away from the rod tip, so I think that'll be a fairly interesting situation if we get a bite on that rod. So yeah, all good, looking good for a bite. Gonna watch some golf, and yeah, fingers crossed we get interrupted with a ripper. Bashed up in the weeds there, straight into the weeds. Wah, wah, wah. At least you know the rig's working. It's Friday, yep, Friday the 13th of June. I've just done 48 hours at ADH on the Specimen Lake. I'm being beaten up pretty badly by the fish. Really, really horrible lilies. Literally every fish has just gone straight into the lilies and done me. I've got another 48 hours meant to be going on Black Comb Lake. However, they're spawning. So fish thrashing them out everywhere. So I'm going to jump in the motor now and I'm going to go meet Mike Globe over at Trent View. Better go, there's a car coming. Right, Trent View, let's go, round 2.